Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Committee of the Whole meeting of the Village of Walton Hills, Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 at 7:02 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are following House Bill 404 that allows public bodies to meet electronically through July 2021. Okay, that was the call to order. Roll call.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller. Here. Councilman Linville.
Present.
Councilwoman Allen.
Here.
Councilwoman Chalosky.
Here.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Here.
Councilman Weed.
Here. Okay. All of council present. One council person, Brian Spitznagel, present electronically. Okay. Our fiscal officer, Angela Reve, is here, along with us. Good evening.
Sorry.
Oh, that wasn't Brian.
Any comments related to the agenda items? You'll be able to have comments as we go. It's just we got it on there. Okay. We'll go through the approval of the COW meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the COW meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2020?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the COW meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2020.
Second. Second by Mr. Whedon.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Present.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Chalosky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes. Okay,
Mr.
minutes
Mayor,
passed.
I make a motion?
Yeah.
Can I just, for the COW meeting minutes of March 10th, 2020.
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I do have one small correction on there. And I know it's just like a typo thing. It's on the second page under the second paragraph that starts with Ken Jackman.
Yes, go ahead.
The second line at the end, it says, "and there is a hospice or total to a complete end."
This was going verbatim off of what Mr. Jackson said on the recording, so.
Okay. I just figured it's either a typo or, something. And I know sometimes the recordings aren't completely clear.
He was he worked on at the VA.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't need a motion up for that, like John says, we can fix that.
Yeah.
We'll just fix that, that's just.
Okay. I'm ready to vote. Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Present.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Chalosky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes. Okay, minutes passed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to pass the minutes of COW meeting minutes of May 12th, 2020.
Second.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Chalosky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes. Okay, minutes passed, thank you, everybody.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to pass the COW meeting minutes of November 17th, 2020.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just another one very tiny correction on that. Last page, second paragraph, it says Mayor Colograph asks Councilman Spitznagel is he wants to talk about.
Okay.
So it should probably just be if. That's all.
Okay. Vote on the,
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Abstain.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Chalosky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
yes. Okay, minutes passed, thank you. We got one more set, right?
Yep.
Was
That's
that
it.
That was it? Okay. Got lost there. Well, we're catching up on that.
We have a random February COW meeting that none of us had the recording for, so I will go back and get that, and we'll pass that in January. It was February 4th of this past year, so I will, yeah, I gotta hunt down the recording. Katie also had minutes that she needed the recording, so on her stuff, so I was like, okay, I'm not crazy, I can't find the recording. So we'll do that in January. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
I'd just like to thank Angela for getting these back up and going.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I know that you've got a lot on your plate right now, so.
That's for
Nice
sure.
to see the meeting minutes, Shelley.
Mayor, does anyone have an extra set of our paper tonight for the agenda and everything?
No, I can make you a
Oh, I
copy.
got right here, Angela, because I
Because
printed out
I
a
think you in
copy.
my mailbox, so.
Denny, are you getting it electronically too? Because I sent it to that email you gave me, the R.
Yeah, well, I actually went without anything. Thank you for Jennifer.
Certainly.
Jennifer to the rescue.
Well, I printed them off so I could read through the meeting minutes.
Okay. Okay, the next, we'll wait for Mary.
It's cold here in this mass.
Yeah, well, I gotta cry,
No,
turn it all the way up.
We're getting
No,
warmer.
I just might,
We're getting warmer.
yeah, it is.
Okay, everybody ready?
Yeah.
Next item 5, that's the legislation we talked about last week. And we had the public meeting. We read the project, it's for the grant. And I don't know if you guys want me to go through the scope of it again, but we do have it for our special council meeting tonight. We do have it on there, that piece of legislation. I'd like to ask for suspension. The county's requesting we have that in by, I think, the 11th, by the 11th. And it's for a block grant, the community development block grant, for $150,000. So it's really no reason why we wouldn't want to pass that and receive those, hopefully maybe receive those funds like we did last year. We were able to do those concrete repairs in our industrial area. With that said, why don't I read Joe's memo again? It kind of gives the scope of the work, and then we'll be ready, it would kind of remind everybody what it's for, and then we'll be ready to vote for it in our meeting. Okay. The village is proposing to apply for a grant of $150,000 to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, funding program. If received, this grant money will be used to perform concrete pavement repairs in the Crick Road and Hannon Parkway industrial parks. $150,000 is the maximum amount which can be applied for under this program. It should be noted that the CDBG program is conducted annually. Last year, the village received a grant worth $150,000, which was used to perform concrete repairs in these industrial parks. If the current grant application is successful, these concrete pavement repairs would be in addition to the previous pavement repairs, the repairs we did this year. The roads that make up these two industrial parks are generally in poor condition and are in need of further repair. It is important for the village to properly maintain these roads in order to help attract new businesses to this area, and for existing businesses in these industrial parks to remain at their current locations. It should be noted that the terms of the CDBG program are such that the grant funding can only be used for public improvements within a designated improvement target area, ITA, or within a designated low moderate income, LMI, area. The location of these areas are designated by Cuyahoga County. There are no designated LMIs areas within the village. The only ITA within the village is in the industrial zone. Thus, this is the only area in which the village can apply for funding. So that piece of legislation is allowing us to apply for that grant tonight. So, who would like to introduce that?
Mayor Colgraff, I think we had a pretty good discussion on this item last week, and if there's no other questions on it, I'd like to introduce resolution number 2020-24 for suspension.
Okay, that would be great, right? And in this special council meeting,
Yes.
I would ask you to do that. Great, for suspension. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to everyone's favorite part here. Angela, you came back just in time.
I did. Brian, I just emailed you the infrastructure piece that I'll go over.
Okay.
But we can go over the report 52 first, if everyone would like the current report 52. And then we'll go infrastructure, and then what I'm gonna do is give you a little bit of a shell of like what the 52 looks like for revenue and expenses, just to go through the major everyday type of line items. We won't have any salaries in there because we're not at that point yet, but just what I'm thinking on the revenue side with a little bit of notes so I can bring everybody up to speed on what goes into each revenue line, so you know what's in there. So, I know the 52 went out kind of late today, and I was going to actually wait and make some more adjustments before year end that I need to do, but I figured let's get it out. So, I will make those for December. So, if everybody pays attention, I highlighted for you in the back, we look like we are fantastic. However, don't forget 2.6 million of that is Dunham Road. And so we are actually back down to $32,974.93 on that last page of the GF. And a big piece of that is that we just paid down $200,000 of our debt when we did all the transfers and notes. So our previous debt that we renew each year, we paid down $200,000, then plus some interest. So that pretty much makes up a big chunk of, in the last month, we were at about $250. And so that's why we're down a little bit now. But it's just anyone.
What was that final number, please?
The final number on the last page of the very last page, page 9 of the general fund section, it shows 2,632,974.93. It's just the 32,974 because that 26 is that money earmarked for Dunham. Okay. Yep, absolutely. So if anyone wants to start, has questions. I mean, that's the biggest change, obviously, we've got to pay down some debt. And then let me see what else, I made a couple notes just about things.
Mr. Mayor?
We have our insurance payment this month, we have a double Kimball payment, but mainly the debt payment's the big thing.
Yes, Jennifer.
Angela, were we able to find homes, if you will, for the rest of that CARES Act money?
We already had homes because we're gonna use it for police, part-time police wages
Okay,
that are over budget, and then as well as some fire wages, yeah.
okay, thank
So
you.
part of our fire contract. Absolutely. We're still incurring a little bit of PPE and cleaning products and things like that, but not nearly as much as we had been. The hard thing is going forward, we don't know if we're gonna get any money in 2021. So, I encumbered for these meetings and things like that with the last batch, so that when we reported, we have nothing to return. Oh, I will say this, I don't even know if I told the mayor. For all the cities that did have to return unused money, they redistributed, and we're getting $174 and change. So we're gonna get another $174. That'll cover some of the other PPE we had been going through this end of the year here, but yeah, for the big portion that we got, the last disbursement of, I think it was 83,000 or so, that will go towards salaries.
And Angela,
Yes.
I know somebody who worked on that board, I don't know what the board is called, but they continually, it's the state board, to fill out that money for the COVID.
Right.
And he tells me things change almost on a daily basis.
They do, and there have been money still sitting out there, hopefully that they were going to distribute and lift some limitations on when they sent it back out to us local governments. So right now, they kept saying we can't use any of it for revenue replacement, but they're hoping to be able to make some adjustments if they're gonna dish that money out in 2021 and lift some of the limitations on what we can use it for. But that remains to be seen. Mr. Montello is online and said he's here if we need him.
Okay.
There's really nothing super significant for this month that I can, think of off the top of my head that happened other than paying down the debt.
I'll just say, just for council information, John Montello, our law solicitor, is online in case we need to reference him or ask him a question. Thanks, John and Brian, for joining us electronically. Brian, of course, is online too, as I've said from the beginning, Councilman Spitz's name. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, everyone's looking through, so I'm just.
Okay, did you want to just
I
go
wanted
through
to
the
look at-
expense?
I wanted to look at this first, because the other
Okay.
piece is different.
All right.
Go over anything you want to go through line by
Well,
line
I
here
can-
is fine too, but
Yeah,
I have a different setup for what I'm gonna give you.
and then I'll talk, I did have some conversations with the chief, but whenever you're,
Brian, you had a question?
Yeah, just you had mentioned that, this does not have, line item numbers for the employee, is that?
Right now, you're looking at the 52, Brian, and that's just like it is every month. I actually have, when I hand out to everyone else, I can send it to you, but it's gonna look similar to this, but I just did I hit all the salary columns because I'm not focusing on that for this meeting. Obviously, we're doing discovery still for CBA, and so some things are up in the air before I would go ahead and give a salary, guess on salary for everyone.
As far as the rest of the employees for our planning purposes, are there any pay raises or is the pay the same?
That remains to be seen as well.
As far as the budget.
That will remain to be seen once we kind of tie things up with the CBA and see where we're at. I
Okay,
have some more figures to run for that.
all right.
Yep.
yeah, that's the collective bargaining agreement, we're still going through that, so that's a big part of this budget. Do you want to go page by page?
I'm gonna hand this out before I do that, because I have a
Okay.
closed system here, it's a little different than what you're looking at.
Okay, that's fine, good.
All right, so what I'm gonna give you now is just the first section's the revenue, just like you would see here. There's no totals on any of this. Like I said, I'm going just through with you where I think we're gonna end up with everything. My thoughts so far, sans the salaries. And the transfers aren't in here for next year yet either.
Thank you.
This is our starting point here. Mayor, did I give you one?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you. Does Brian, did you send Brian?
Brian, he doesn't have this exact thing yet, because I had forgotten.
That's fine, I think I.
You can follow along in the 52.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let me pull out mine. So you'll see there's some notes on here. So this we can go through line by line. And if anything jumps out at anybody on the 52 later, you're welcome to call or email, obviously, from this from November's numbers. You didn't have much time with that one. All right, so for this, we'll go through revenues first. And basically, revenues kind of are what they are. We're a little limited on, unless somebody has grants information that we can apply for and things like that. We're gonna, it is what it is. So in terms of taxes, I'm going to budget conservatively. Our distribution for electric and utility tax kind of varies because some years it's really low and some years we get lucky and we get a bigger chunk. Now this year we did not yet, so I'm going to keep that at 10,000. I am going to keep, even though we're above for withholding, I'm going to keep that at 2.6 in case anything, God forbid, happens in the future here and anybody needs to shut down. We were up above budget for individual taxes this year, but I anticipate that next year, if people were laid off, that's when we're gonna take a hit. So I took that down to 225. Same thing with net profit. We're catching up to where we budgeted, but still not quite there. So I'm gonna leave that at 600,000. Trying to be conservative as I can. Going down to liquor permits, beer and fees. Again, not something we usually get a lot of, but we did just get a distribution recently, I think. So I'll leave that at 1,000. It's not money that we count on heavily, obviously, as you can see. Special assessments in that area, that's property taxes. I'm gonna keep us kind of right on par with what we budgeted for this year. Again, just in case people are delinquent based on their finances. 593 is what came in this year. And as long as they don't delay the dates that property taxes are due, we probably will still exceed 585, but I'm gonna go ahead and stay right there on that. The 5,000 in grants and community diversion aid, so 1,440,0001. That money is Department of Justice money, and then we get money from UH Bedford that goes toward the police for community diversion. So we budgeted 10 because we typically do get more, but this year we've gotten just about 5, so I'm gonna leave that at 5. Same thing with pop machine down by the Parker program, I'm leaving that at 2. Concession stands there, you know, that's kind of, we purchase and then the kids buy from us, so I'll put that at 1,000. We don't know what the program's gonna look like for next year. Parker entry fees, I also kept a little bit lower. Hopefully we're back to normal and we can go back up into 24,000, like 2019 actual. But we don't know what things are gonna look like when summer gets here, so I'd rather budget a little less. Trips, I left at 1,500. The main trips that were taken were for Parkers this year. Obviously, we haven't had any bus trips for seniors, so. Yoga, I went very conservative. She wasn't here for most of the shutdown and she just got started back up, I think, and I want to say September. So I'm gonna leave her income where it's at. We get just this, she charges either per class or $75 for a punch card, and then we get like a couple bucks from each person for that, and she gives us a check each month. So we just redid a contract for her, just to make things a little more clear and official this year. Transportation, I'll leave at 3,500. And senior services, I'm gonna leave at 2,000. We're kind of over that right now. I might revisit that one because we've had a lot more participation now that they're drive-through. Right, so I'm just gonna look at what Natalie's expenditures were for the cost of the food. We charge $7 per senior lunch, so I could increase that, but you know, we are offsetting it with them paying a little bit, so. I have to move this tiny charge for services of $70 to another account, but I estimated, you know, we're hoping to wrap up Oakwood stuff in the next couple weeks, John and I, and get the contract like official and finalized and start getting our 2020 money and what they owed us for 2019 as well. So without the $35,000 Glen Willow piece, that's what will come out of that contract. This is what we should be getting. That was within the % increase for each year as well. So that's what we should get for next year. Saturation patrol, as you can see, $16,215. I alluded to this last week when Stan was talking about vehicle budget. Saturation patrol is when the guys go out, they get paid on their own when they're doing this private work, but we get paid for the cars, for our police cars to be used. So I'll keep it conservative at 10, but they've gone over and above that. You know, it's when they're sitting at one of our local businesses, or you know, and they're being asked to be there all day. So that's what that is. Advertising is for UH typically gives us money and they advertise. They do a 1-page in the journal. You'll see each month. So I'm going to keep that pretty conservative. They were on the fence this year about doing it, so just in case, you know, we used to also have the casino advertising and they had to back out. So finance fees, admin department. So that's title assessment. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm like up one more. Finance fees, building department. They charge a small fee when people come in for permits and such. And then ours for finance department, our title assessment fees at $10 each, but a lot of that is also the JED fees. We administer the JED and we take all of the money in here and then distribute the portion back, the 50% back out to them, but we get a 3% admin fee. So that's what is encompassed in that line item. And then we've got banquet hall rental. I backed that obviously way down. We budgeted 50. We had a lot of cancellations this year and a lot of people who obviously couldn't book, so I'm gonna take that to 30. And then baseball field rental, same thing. We didn't really have much going on at the baseball field, so I took that down to 1,000. If we can surpass those numbers next year, great. Engineering plan review, I did up that a little bit. It seems we had a lot more going through this year. And then court costs. I tried to stay kind of on par because we obviously lost a lot of court revenue this year with COVID, so I don't foresee it going up by any means. If it does, great, but I'd rather not budget ahead of where we were. I'm hoping if we get back to normal, we'll hit those numbers. So when you look at that whole next section with fines and forfeitures, camera, same thing. I did pump us up to 250. As you can see, we've been doing very well with it, but I won't go past that because it could be shut down at any moment. And 250 is a pretty nice chunk of change to be counting on to begin with. Permits, also part of building. And then down at the bottom, zoning. Those fees, I increased those as well, because we've had a lot more going on with zoning this year, so. Okay, next page.
Is everybody good? Okay, just interrupt if you
Yeah, interrupt.
need to.
I wanted to ask you when you
Yeah.
first gave me this about the dispatch, whatever happened.
Oh, yeah, so that's it, I'm waiting to just crank it out and be done with it, so I'm hoping by the end of the year we can, and maybe see some money too, so, John being, unavailable this week kind of, put a little damper on that, but hopefully within this next week here.
Yeah, we want to get wrapped up in this.
Yes, we do. Tying up the loose ends.
Good.
To get back to, I know we talked about it, and John, this is a question for you as we move forward. Natalie sent me a thing of, and I know we got increasing the fees for non-residents for the rental of both, facilities. But we wanted to make sure we were within what the auditors said.
I need to check, actually not with the auditor, but with it's about the property tax.
Right,
So
so-
I need to check with them, I'm sure we're probably still within for now, because like I said, I don't, we're down so much in income this year. I think we'll be okay if we raise fees next year.
Right.
Yeah.
But my question to you, John, will be to find out if we have to, I get it, whether I just need verbal approval from council or do we actually need legislation? So,
So John, in case you didn't hear, do we need legislation for raising rates on the event center? I don't think we have any legislation.
I don't think so either. But, you don't need to know now, but that's just something moving forward, because if we didn't get it done this year, we'd like to get it done in the first month in January. So, and she's gonna put a nice thing together for me to get to, the community, recreation committee, to look at the fees and stuff. She sent me like a general, once she puts something nice together with all the fee structure, I'll get it to all of council. Okay, I just wanted to mention that, because I know we talked about it during our COW meetings this year, at the end of the year, about increasing the rates for non-residents. Primarily to also offset, also raise the security deposit, because we're having problems with people walking away or damaging, leaving messes that are costing more, clean the carpet's costing more to clean the carpet than what our security deposit is. And that's not the purpose of it, not to go in the hole. And it's just for non-residents. Our residents, the fees would still remain the same.
We currently do not deposit their security money. We hang on to it in the safe until we see if everything's good to go to give it back. But if they have a little more at stake and on the line, they might be more receptive. Mr. Montello said that he will move that to the top of the list to look into whether or not we move legislation.
Okay, very good.
Okay. All right, so page 2, we're gonna be looking at line item 1,625, and that is cable franchise fees. We get roughly $7,500 per quarter, so I just kind of left that at 30,000. We could get a little more, that would be great. And then below that are more contractor registrations, that's part of building. So I left that at 15. And then if you go down to 1,701, that's our Star Ohio Star Plus interest money. So I'm obviously not taking it up. We're getting very little interest right now because of COVID. It tanked the minute COVID hit. So, so I'm not gonna go up on that at all. Going down to line 1,892, contained in this line, we had gotten 21,000 in the last check and change, and I think we had another rebate earlier in the year from BWC. We get a Visa rebate that's anywhere from up to $2,000 a year for the Visa that we use, and so that's a line item we don't plan on each year because we're not positive we're going to get that rebate from BWC each year. It's a performance rebate, and then sometimes there's a dividend, which is the smaller amount that comes in, but there's no guarantee that's money coming in, so that's why that's a blank. Same thing with public records request, I left that blank for right now. We haven't budgeted for that in the past, but we do charge depending on if we need to purchase flash drives or, depending on what's needed to get that taken care of. Postage and copies, again, same thing. So that's why you'll see some blanks in some of these. It's not money that, it's a one or two times a year thing. Vehicle release, 1,892,009, that's tow fees. So I'm gonna keep that at 5,000. We had a little bit of a slowdown for that when people were not on the road during the shutdown, but it seems to have picked back up a little bit. When we look at 1,961 sale of fixed assets, in that line item, there's a small portion that's the dishes from the event center. There was a bunch of dishes there from when we purchased the building, so Natalie had those up for sale, but then, probably 4,100 and change is actually from selling the 2 service vehicles that we got out of the fleet that were older. We sold those on Gov Deals. So again, not something, we don't know every year if we're gonna sell an asset or not. I know with police, we've discussed moving some of, as they get new vehicles, we're gonna move some of their other Explorers into auxiliary, and then we have one auxiliary vehicle that, this is an Explorer that we can probably give to recreation, so that they have a 4x4 vehicle, because that's been the new concern now, and you saw last week's snow, and our vehicles get stuck. So if they can have one 4x4 vehicle, that might help. So, so we'll probably hand one of those down versus selling them outright next year. We may have a couple that can be sold, but that
Angela?
remains to be seen.
Did you see Brian's comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, we lost Brian somehow. But
What
we
did,
can do
go
it.
ahead, Sarah, what did he say?
He just asked for her to call
The
him
phone
back.
hung up, so we're gonna
Oh,
call
okay.
Brian again.
He's on YouTube with a delay.
Sorry.
I think he wants to be in real
I
time.
didn't realize we lost.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, you back? Sorry, I didn't know I lost you.
No problem.
Okay, and then Sarah, are we good? Because mine is buffering. Oh, there, good, okay, sorry. I had a delay. All right, so we just went through that top section of page 2, Brian,
Yeah.
and now we're gonna move on to the SCMR fund.
Right.
All right, so gasoline tax, we've obviously gotten a little less than budget this year. Again, we had a shutdown, so people weren't out, so I'm gonna keep that at 150 in case we have to shut down again. Keeping license tax at 54, because that also took a hit while the BMVs were closed all that time. Hopefully people eventually got their stuff. And then you're gonna go down to, there's auto registration, that's what's in that interest line, 2011 701. We go to 2011 892. What's in there right now is a reimbursement from the sewer district. So again, it may not be some grant that we're gonna have next year, so nothing budgeted for that. And then as I stated earlier, I don't have the transfers on here yet. I will have those when we are ready for final appropriations or temporary appropriations. Down to state highway, I brought that up a little bit. Fortunately, like the other piece of the gas tax, this is probably the interest from the gas tax here. So we do have 8,000 in there. And then we've got a license tax on the county side for state highway, so 6,000. I'm gonna leave that just kind of right where it is. We will probably end up just under 6,000 for the year. If I got 2 more distributions coming in, I think. So any questions so far?
Yes, I have one, Angela.
Yes.
The line item, just gonna see if my eyes can see this. The one with the reimbursement from the sewer district,
Yes.
the 13, that's not the, like, the fees that come back to the village from the cost share program, like when we did the project on Egbert Road.
Egbert's in another line item, I
So
believe.
where does that,
So this, we do get money back from the sewer district for the pipe program.
right,
And then we may also get some back, I think, toward our fire hydrants. So I'd have to look exactly what that one is, but Egbert is down on the next page.
so what type of reimbursements are these? Where are these?
That's what I'll have to look up for you to see exactly what it was.
Okay.
Like I said, at least 5,500 of it is probably pipe, and then I'll have to look up what the difference is. So we participate in that program each year, that educational program, and then we pay out and they reimburse us, so. But I'll find out for you what the remainder of it was. Like I said, it may be geared toward our fire hydrants. All right, so moving down to state highway, we went through state highway, so moving down to where it says left. Those couple things, court fines again. So we're just gonna kind of like knock those down a little bit, because we didn't have much, well, forfeitures are not a guarantee there, so. Motor vehicle, this is money coming in again from the state. And so we were down because of the shutdown, obviously, so I'm gonna put that at 15,000. All right, page 3, police pensions, I'm gonna keep about the same, because again, we could we could get more for it, but if people are, you know, depending on what went up for taxes, you know, you didn't really have too much levy going on here for anything
Right.
in Walton Hills, so I don't think there's gonna be any more property taxes coming our way, and hopefully people are not defaulting. So then there's another court fine light item there, and this mayor's court computer, and that's just money that goes in case Nancy needs an upgrade. She actually just had one last year, I believe. But that money we kind of keep in there in case anything goes kaput with the court computer itself, or her computer. All right, so when we go down to special bond retirement fund, right now in there, I only have our current loan. And so, actually, we asked for, yeah, I'm gonna try to pay down 150,000 of them, so I know my notes cut off on here, but it was already hard enough to read, so I didn't wanna go like 2 more lines over for you guys. That's my goal right now, see if when we finish the budget, we can pay down 150,000 next year. This year we paid down 200,000. Last year, I'm trying to remember what we paid down. Last year, I think we paid close to the same, not quite 200,000. And then I have to look into, obviously, with Dunham. I'm
That's the
gonna,
one we paid $295 now, right?
yes, okay, so we did pay more last time. So, I need to check on Dunham money, and when we talk infrastructure, I was gonna bring that up. I need to talk to Catherine at Bricker and see, do I need to pay that all down next year? Or can I save some for other projects within the city for roads? So that'll be a topic that, you know, that number will change just based on putting Dunham in there, but. All right, so then if we go down to capital, you'll see that Egbert Force Main reimbursement, Mr. Whedon, that 140,406. And I think we're all done now, so there's no money that I anticipate coming in for that. Egbert Force Main is finished.
No, that's complete.
And then we've got safety vehicle, court fines that go towards safety vehicle. So I'm leaving that rate at 20. We are gonna come in under this year, but if everything's back to normal, God willing, we're back up there.
And that's the amount that we could put towards the new police car.
Absolutely.
Okay, because when we get to the expenditures, I want to talk about this.
Yeah, I didn't even put cars in here, so.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got right there, you see that 1.5 million, we don't know exactly what our number's gonna be coming in from Dunham, it could go as high as 1.9, but based on what we know our bid to be, it may not go that high, in talking to Joe. So I'm gonna just budget it in at 1.5 million as our reimbursement from the county. I didn't include Maple in there, I can put that in as well, but, and that's it for this particular page. Because everything else, I didn't put the transfers in yet, and then, you know, veteran recycling, we haven't been really getting money, and I think we talked about this in the past, where they were gonna start charging us for the bins, but then they decided they can leave them there at no charge. It's just that we're not seeing any recycling money anymore. Lots of corrugated cardboard in there, and I'm not sure why their thing says to put cardboard in if they want to ding us for it, but.
Right.
All right, and then on the final page of this, really all there is to see so far is going to be the JED money, which I'm gonna keep at 750. We had it at 800 for 2020, and we may land there, but I'm gonna keep it at 750 just in case anything happens in the meantime with some of the JED companies. It's only a handful, but anything could happen there. So I'd rather
And we
do
have
this.
our annual JED meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
Actually, myself and.
So this is the number I gave for the JED budget when I turned it into them as well.
With Sagamore.
Any questions on revenue side? If anyone's got fantastic ideas for grants, I'm all ears. All right, so we can move on to expenses. Police uniform, this first line is basically gonna be items for those that would come in new and not necessarily have their own expense line yet for uniforms, because we have to this point been making them, they had to be here a year before they would get their own expense line. Weapons allowance, I'm gonna leave that the same. I see we didn't really budget anything for it, but it's part of their contract, so I'm gonna leave that at 5,500. If it needs to be adjusted, once the CBA is finished, I can do that. Dispatch, same thing. That number's gonna actually get adjusted. When I was looking today, I think I must have stuck their uniform allowances maybe under police, so I just need to take it in and an out there. And I will actually change that, because the part-timers get 320, and the full-timers get, I believe, 550 or 700, something like that. So that number will match up to what the dispatchers actually get for their uniform allowance. Medical and hospitalization, I'm just bumping stuff up a little bit, you know, depending on if people come on board more with insurance or not. So that number is kind of really up in the air. It's there, but it's arbitrary. Life insurance, I just gave it a tiny bump because there's usually a little cost of living increase on the life insurance policy each year. Same thing with the dispatch. Workers' comp, kind of keeping the same, because again, you know, we got some rebates this year, but we never know each year what things are gonna look like. Overall this year, the monthly comp premium did go up, I wanna say about $500. So just in case, there were a couple claims, you know, and injuries this year, so you never know what's gonna happen there. Uniform and clothing lines, keep going, if you keep going down, and lodging and meals, that's if they're out on, you know, for training. So that big uniform and clothing line is the main line for police, full-time and part-time. And I'm increasing it just with the thought that maybe we might have to increase overall for the police, so we'll see. Telephones and pagers, that's mainly for, it's not like everybody's got, and nobody's got a pager that I know of. But that is mainly I'm trying to think if it's first responder cell. We also pay for some data for the computers in the cars and such.
Right.
Printing and production, so what their copier usage, we both, you know, go through ACE, we own our copier. They've got the copiers are both, like, they're ours, and we just get charged, you know, per copies. Theirs is color though, so they do have a little bit more going in there than we do. Training services, I had this originally at 5. I did have a conversation with George Dare the other day, and George has been booking training here like crazy this year, so we've been getting like 5 spots for free each time that we book it at our event center. Obviously, he will try to continue to do that, but there are a couple conferences that he knows that are coming up that sometimes total, it's like including travel, it's like $1,000 per person. So we had a discussion about potentially upping that. So maybe 7,000. I'll see where we land with things at the end if I have room to move it. So if you see that go up, that's why, because I did it before I did this before I talked to him and we had that conversation, so.
And I know as council, we've all talked to the chief, including myself on a number of times, and we do feel that, you know, there's a lot of training out there that it's important that our police attend and maintain up-to-date training. So I know we all feel that's pretty important, so we wanted to make sure we keep that in there and raise it up in fact a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. In their technical services line, I took that up to 8. I don't think it's gonna be as big as this year because, you know, this year we had to fix a couple of little things, and I think mostly what's in this line for them would be like TAC, their invoices for TAC. We do each year for the email. TAC hosts our email for the whole building, not just police. And then, you know, we've got like certain subscriptions for some of their security pieces on their end in the dispatch area and such. So that's what's in that line. And then machinery, equipment, and furniture. I made that one a lot higher, but I'm trying to think why now. This is what happens when you do this and then
And where would
revisit
the
it.
radios fall?
Oh, this is the radios, that's what that is.
Okay.
So, thank you. I'm like, why did I leave it? So this year we had 25,000, actually that's my dues and fees line, sorry. Dues and fees, so back up, I'm actually on dues and fees, where you see 25,000 for dues and fees. The reason that is so high compared to this year is that we have not paid fees to seal. In the last couple of years, we haven't had to. We may not have to next year either. It's all dependent on some things on their end. And so just to be on the safe side, knowing that it's coming due and we may have to pay it, I'd rather have it in there. And then, and if we don't have to pay it, that's fantastic. So that's why that's so high, because we usually do make payments to seal every so many years, 5,000 and then like a 20,000. So it's been a few years since we've had to make a big one. If you look back at 19, we budgeted the 30 there, and then we still didn't have to pay it. So cross your fingers, things go well, and we don't have to again, but yeah, that's what that's about. And then the machinery and equipment, I can actually maybe even bring that down a little. The 45 this year did encompass those radios Stan was talking about. And so obviously that is an item that's a safety concern. I discussed with the mayor that we had it in there already. I don't feel like we can yank that away next year just because the grant wasn't ready this year. So that may come down. I still don't have those figures from Shannon. I'll actually ask her tomorrow if she's gotten them yet. And then I can give a more exact number. But that's mainly what's going in that line is the radios. Again, the grant's gonna cover our portables, We just need to have our stationary radios paid for.
And with that said, you know, I talked to the chief again about the 4 cars and the radios.
They didn't ask for 4, they asked for 3.
3, well, there was talk of 4 on there.
They just listed their age, that's all they were
But,
doing.
even that was enough to shock us.
Well,
So-
everything about your vehicle wise should shock everybody, I'm not gonna lie.
So, but talking with him, and, you know, I encourage anybody to have any questions on the radio too, and if we need to remove that, it's just, we're gonna have to update, whether we do it, you know, we were hoping to get that grant this year, whether it's this year, next year, because that's where they're going. So it's not a matter of, you know, just doing it because, like we talked about, because they want the latest and the greatest or something. It's where everybody's going, and we're gonna have to buy it. So, and then they don't get any cheaper, as we know. So with that said, I think that's something we need to leave in there for the radios. And when we get to the vehicles, you know, go a little deeper into that. I had more conversation with him on it. 3 vehicles.
I did as well, and like I said, I don't have
Right.
any vehicles budgeted in here right now, so.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
with the radio, the grant that you're talking about, could we, do you have any idea of that grant? Could we get a grant retroactive, and pay for the radios, retroactively with that grant money, or no?
If we purchase radios now, we could go, you know, if we did it, we would do it out of pocket now, and then the grant would still come into us, and we would just offset that cost in the following year. I think Stan's just trying to time it up, because it was the grant itself that got held up. So
Okay.
Stan's being very conscious of the timing and trying to not purchase until we know that grant is closer to us.
Yeah, I know some grants, you know, they require that it's for a future purpose, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, you know, Brian, it was that whole thing kind of with the COVID and everything kind of was in limbo there. And
Sure.
so we're hoping it continues to move forward, but it looks like it's going to.
I'm gonna pause because I think I'm getting yelled at by my tape recorder again, so let me go make more space on the tape recorder, everyone. I just cleared out a bunch of stuff, so I'm not sure why it's yelling at me.
I can hear it.
I know,
That's fine.
I'm having issues with this little thing, okay.
That's fine.
So let me go clear more space, I just cleared space yesterday. Pause, I'll be right back.
That's fine. Does anybody want to take a restroom break? They can.
Just a quick question, like, items like the tape recorder, are any of those electronic type devices covered under the CARES Act? We need to improve on some of that technology.
You mean like that and stuff? I don't know, Ray. It's not, I mean, we're having meetings, is it
I did-
COVID?
I
mean,
did
really,
see, I
it
did see,
just-
I saw an article saying that.
I guess it would
now's the
because we
time.
normally, but, yeah, I probably would, probably is because we're using it, and we use it anyways for regular meetings, but.
Well, I've seen
something
an
we find-
article.
They
that-
cover a lot more stuff's covered, go ahead.
I saw an article that said upgrading so that these meetings being taped,
Right.
you know, and sent out, now's the time to do it, especially with that CARES Act money coming in.
Yeah, I'll have to ask, we'll see, maybe we could get something better. That works pretty good, though, I know what we do with that, they take that and then we give it to that third party and, you know, they download it and stuff. Then you still gotta go through the minutes with that, because you gotta clean them up, you still gotta clean them up. Yeah, we can find that out. Anybody want a water or anything?
Okay, that one.
Can any people hear us? Okay. I hope everybody's doing well in the village. Has anybody gone around and looked at the Christmas lights? Have you? Me too, Ray. Everybody, they look real nice. I seen that, the Lake Club and the Housewives of Walton Hills, 32 people entered the contest, 32 houses, so that's nice.
Mhm.
We had a nice tree lighting.
Mhm.
It was, It was small and different, but it was nice. Glad we had it. We got Santa delivery coming up Saturday, which will be different too, yeah. But we'll be fine, we'll just do it safely. Either way. It's gonna be warmer. Maybe rainy, but a little warmer at least. Is Santa stopping at anybody's house in here? No. Is it because not
We've been
everybody's been
bad.
good, or?
That's probably it.
Oh, Barry? Just because Mike's been bad doesn't mean you should be penalized.
He's always bad.
I didn't ask Natalie, I meant to ask her, because they had, you know, people dropping things off, what the count was. I was curious if it's a lot less or it stayed the same. I meant to ask her today, and I didn't, because I was just, I'm really curious, you know.
It's amazing, sales are up,
I know.
you know, and with people, you know.
How often that is gonna be needed?
Just, everybody has to wear a mask and keep our
Okay,
distance.
just,
Yeah.
that's a long day.
Well, people are doing a lot more internet shopping too. I started my Christmas shopping this weekend and I already started getting things. I'm surprised I had an email that popped up, your package has been delivered, and I went to the front door because I'm like, there's no way, it was there.
Something.
I know. I heard mine and I just went and picked it up.
Does anybody want a pop or anything? I'm gonna run down and grab myself a pop.
No, I've got water, thank you.
What city do we have to get it to, Brian?
Where's the,
Are you in Dallas?
Yeah, I'm in Dallas.
what's the weather like?
It's sunny, well, not right now, but it was sunny all day and about, in the 60s, I think.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah,
I think we had a high of 31.
yeah. Great, most of the day.
I've been studying all day and locked up in my room studying, so, it did me no good.
Well, that's not fun.
Get some of that sun, it just makes you feel better.
You know what?
Get some of that vitamin D. What's that?
Break.
What's-
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Part of my star on my roof is down. I've been waiting for Jennifer to come over and get up on the roof and fix it for me.
No, thank you. Especially
Does
if
she
you
perform
snow.
rooftop services like that?
Only when I have Rudolph with me.
It is amazing how many people do have stuff way up on their roofs, you know, and they go up there and do that. Everybody be patient. Let's see here. Did the county go purple? Who said that today? Somebody said that? Did Tyler County go purple?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't see that either,
didn't
but
have
I
the
thought
news
somebody
on.
mentioned that.
Usually the governor doesn't give those orders until Thursday.
Yeah.
It's Thursday meetings.
Well, he was on yesterday, the lieutenant governor. They talked mostly about the schools, the state of the schools.
I did hear that they were extending the curfew.
Mm.
The OSU Michigan game got canceled.
What was that, sir?
The OSU and Michigan game got canceled.
Oh, yeah, I heard that. Yeah, now they're gonna make a ruling, because to play in the championship, you need to play at least 6 games, the ruling is. For college, you gotta play 6 games. Ohio State's only played 5.
Oh,
But of course, it's because of the season, so they're gonna maybe make a ruling on it tomorrow or something, I heard. Well, there's Mary. There's Angela, okay. You're fine.
It holds quite a bit, but we always take our original files and make copies
I
of
wonder if
them.
that's all, I wonder if we should get a new one. Ray made a point that.
We have a ton of space on here, but what happens is all the files come in by date, which is just random, code. Then we make copies of them and we upload, the copy has the actual name on it, and that's what we upload to 360 transcription. So they've kind of all just been sitting on here. When I cleared the other day, I cleared the copies of the originals of everything, but I just cleared some more copies from 2019.
Good.
Okay, Brian, you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, everybody.
No, that's fine.
All right. Oh, and Mr. Whedon, I did look in that line item on the revenue side from NERSD. That was for Dunham Culvert. And then there was other money in there that was also reimbursement to us from GATSO for security camera. That's a non-operating line item for miscellaneous revenue. And then some other tiny little reimbursement from something. So that specific one was Dunham Road Culvert repair. The reimbursement we got for that. Okay. All right, so.
That was the one we did ourselves.
Yes,
Great job,
exactly. That was
right
the
by the golf
we
course.
self-performed, and then Rob gave me everything so we could turn it in and get reimbursement.
Right.
Absolutely. All right, so we were kind of in the middle of, okay, contractual services. We were on line 1,110,399. I left that line item right at about 7, since they're kind of coming up this year a little bit with that. Office supplies are what they are, so I left that at 3. Operating supplies is where they have ammunition, and then anything else they may need to go along with that. A lot of it is ammunition, but it could be, could be some other things they need along the way. So I'm leaving that where it's at. The operating supplies, fuel, I'm gonna leave at 30. A little less fuel this year used, but I think overall we better keep it at 30. And then they get a small line item for repairs of machinery and equipment. I took that down a little bit because they really didn't use it this year. Repairs and maintenance of motor vehicles. So as you can see in there, we're already over the 15. So, that kind of is also a testament to the fact that sometimes we have to get a new car because we're spending more, on repairs. We've got half a car right there in repairs for the year. So, and their cars, probably aren't even taking they're taking a different type of beating, I should say, than service, obviously. But as Stan mentioned, we've got regular mileage that you see on the odometer, but there's cars that are sometimes sitting for construction zones and things like that. And so there's more miles on it truly than you're gonna see in numbers because there's idle time. So, other supplies and materials, I'm not even sure what that was. I left it at 500. If I need to, I can take that away. There's nothing in there. Supplies for the prisoners, I'm gonna leave at 4. Sometimes they do need to go and pick up medications if the prisoner is indigent, or they're going to pick up food if we're not housing them like we used to be. If they need to be here, it would be overnight, we're sending them over to Bedford, but there's still sometimes the occasion to have to get supplies and things, so. And then down to computers and supplies. So within that line, that's got part of their, some more of their contracts for things that we need to renew every year for subscriptions to certain softwares and security features, so. Any questions so far on that?
Well, let me ask you, where would if we did put a car in, where would that go? What line?
Cars are way down in a different section, in capital.
Oh, and they're gonna be in capital?
Yeah, they're in
Okay.
capital.
Then I'll wait till we get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing that might change is the motor vehicle equipment. Does that go with putting equipment in the car?
It probably should, but honestly, the last 2 years, I've actually put it, they're usually giving us a cost for both. When they give us a cost, like, the car itself
Right.
might be 35,000 and change, but then they're giving me an equipment cost too. So I think I've been dropping it into the motor vehicle line, because they obviously have to have computers and everything outfitted in their vehicles. But yeah, we could put motor vehicle equipment, we can put it in that line instead, we can break it out. And again, I mentioned earlier on, this year, it looks like their motor vehicle cost, when we get to it, is over and above, because last year's vehicles, I didn't get a bill from Hall for outfitting them with all their computers until the beginning of this year.
Okay.
So that was $26,000 that was anticipated for last year's budget, not this one. All right, so going down to security of persons and property, we've got the fire contract. That you'll see is just increased a little bit because each of these contracts go up a percentage, 1%. And then contractual services, I left exactly the same. That 3,500 even tells me that's also probably something that's a dues and fees type of thing or subscription. I'm trying to think of what we paid for that 3,500. Board of Health, same thing, we pay each year, and that amount varies, and so that's one payment usually one time each year. So I just upped that to 13 because they were a little over 12 this year. I left seasonal salary in here for rec because that's not going to change much. That's the Parker counselors. And so each year we do budget 36, and that way they do get a little bit of an increase, but it's not going to be based off of any other increases for regular employees. So I left that on there because we're going to keep that budget the same. Same thing with transportation. I don't foresee them going over 15. So, and then their PERs will just match up with all that. Travel and transportation, there's 200 in there because last year Carlene and Carol did go to a conference that was at Kalahari, so we did have some costs associated with that. Same with lodging and meals. If we're back up and running, there are training opportunities even for rec departments, so I want to keep that in there. And you'll see down below then the training line also has 100, which will be registration fees for the training. And then they've got professional and technical services line as well. We all do, every department does, and so I'll leave that at 2,000. I'm gonna leave the exercise program at 3. I could actually knock it down since I did knock her income down, but I'll play with that. It's not enough to worry about. Special.
I'll interrupt you for one.
Yeah.
With that said, Natalie and Angela met and went over the budget.
Yeah, we went over
She
that.
wasn't gonna change any of the
She's not
budget.
changing anything.
So she asked me, I said, well, I'll just have, Angela will just do it since it's not gonna change. There's nothing, no capital or anything.
No,
She
nothing
wanted
for
to-
her. I explained to her how the cars usually work. Obviously, if our bus took a hit or, you know what I mean, but that normally they get the hand-me-down cars when possible, which again, we talked about the need for the 4x4 vehicle. That was really an important piece, and doesn't have to be brand new, obviously, it can come from the police fleet. So I gave her basically an explanation of what's in each of her line items, and so we agreed, that she really doesn't need to make any changes. There shouldn't be any increases. Special events, as we know, is usually when we're doing our holiday parties or our Halloween events and things like that. So I left it in hopes that we'll still have a more normal year next year. Obviously, you can see I don't have everything in here yet from tree lighting, but there wasn't much expense to that. So. Parker program, garage sale. Garage sale kind of is what it is. I left it at 1,200. We pay for getting the signs ordered and things like that, where people are going to come do their little, pick up their sign and pay their fee. And then, and for also like advertising in the papers, that's what goes in that line item. Parker program fees, that's any time we're going to go on a trip, and then they also pay a portion, or if we're buying supplies, crafts, things like that. That's what's in that line, so I left it the same. It didn't come too far away from that, and presuming our summer will be back to normal, hopefully. And the baseball I left at 7,000, so we seem to, other than this year, kind of hover right around there. So if we can get the baseball program in there and up and running, that's probably where we'll land. Any questions before we go on to the next page?
Angela,
Yeah.
the exercise program actually has 0 in it, but the 3,000 for trips, that's the Parker
Oh, I'm
trips?
sorry, that was for trips. So that's gonna be trips for the seniors, where we visited the other trips before, that was for Parkers probably. So this would be senior trips. Again, being hopeful that we'll have some trips
Okay.
this year. So we may not need all of that, but I would hate to take it away and then not have it in there if we can get back to normal, so.
Fair question.
Yes.
So although I know community day looking at page, but the fall event that we had, where is
That's in that line we just went over.
the special event?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. That was all in there. Which we did have to pay for sanitizer and markings for distancing and things like that. So even though it was a one-day thing, we paid for the band, we paid for the food trucks. So, we still put a little bit into it. And then I don't know if there'll be really much cost associated with Santa delivery, but obviously, typically we have a Halloween party, we've got the hayride, we've got a bunch of other things that would fall into that. So, we discussed the fact that we're not budgeting anything for Community Day. If we get some major windfall and can have one, that would be fantastic, but we just don't really have the ability to forecast that right now. Dues and fees, they're also part of organizations, just like the rest of our departments have professional organizations, so that I left that 250. I took it down because there was, we didn't really need the whole 500 in there. Contractual services, that 18,000, that was normally what would be paid to the Lake Club, so I obviously put that back in, even though this year we did not pay that, but God willing, again, your Lake Club will be open next year. And we pay that because it allows the parkers to use the program. So that's the reason we, pay a fee to the Lake Club so that our parkers can be there.
Parkers and his swimming
Yeah.
to all, it's a contract. We buy services, swim services for the village with the contract.
All right, concessions, that is our regular concessions that would happen at the park itself, the pop machine, anything like that. So obviously this year we really didn't have much going on up there, so I brought it back down to 1,500. And then senior services, so senior lunches, any other type of needs or events we do for them. I left that the same. We will come in right on par with that. There's one more senior lunch to be had this year, and we will probably hit that mark for 6,500. Fuel for them, I left it 4. They're a little under this year, but again, people weren't going anywhere for a while. Operating supplies and materials for TG Young. So what you see in here that we have in actual for this year, infield mix and things like that, I think is what I probably booked into their mulch, infield, the infield mix for the baseball fields, things like that. And so we had another budget line for them where we had some other money originally, I thought, so that's probably what I have in there for that. And I don't know why we didn't budget for it before, but land and buildings, I left that at 5,000, basically like repair and maintenance of buildings and land. And then machinery and equipment, she really doesn't have much. Repair of motor vehicles, they're also right on par with getting some repairs done here and there. So I left them at 2,500. Any questions before we move on to building department? All right, so the only reason I left this salary here too is because that's the extra stipend on part of Rob and Jeff Furget's stuff, so I kind of just left that because it is what it is. And then we can actually just skip ahead to the bottom section where they have professional and technical services. I'm gonna leave them at 20. Rob was very conscious this year about things we were doing. We changed cleaning companies, so that saved us a little bit of money. Last year he changed things up a bit, and from uniforms, we went from UniFirst to Cintas, and we also can get supplies from Cintas, which meant the guys didn't have to run out as often and pick them up from VEI. So I feel pretty confident he can stay in the 20,000 budget for that. And then we use that line too, like, we just got done paying for dumping our leaves, when we're doing the leaf pickup and everything, so that's in there too.
Yeah, we have to pay now. We used to
Yeah,
not have to pay to get rid of the leaf, humus or whatever they, name the mulch. And now we do have to pay per ton to dispose of it.
Yeah, it's $67.50 each time you dump. I don't know if it's a ton, but, so yeah, that's a
How things
cost.
have changed, huh?
Mhm. It's listed on their invoice as a tip fee.
Right.
Dues and fees for Rob, obviously. He's got some professional organizations as well. Computers and supplies, I just left 500 in there in case anything happens to Rob's computer. We just got a new one down there for Lisa for while she's helping out down there, so hers should be okay. I left engineering salary in, because again, that's not really gonna change. That's a contracted amount. And then down to utilities.
Yeah, I'm gonna back up,
Yeah.
just so, Lisa being, part of the building department, she goes there 2 days a week and helps out the building department, and her being there, right in the office there, she's focused on that, so it's really helped kind of get the planning and zoning and the building department, a lot of things in line and stuff, so it's going well. It's helping Rob out too. Instead of him having to come up here, have conversations, everything's right there, it's working out.
All right, utilities kind of are what they are. As you can see, we are almost right on par for every utility, so I increased the water and sewage. When I started in 17, we had an overpayment or 2 overpayments on a certain account. on the water and sewage, so we've been riding a credit for all his time, and so those will be running out eventually. And so that's why I increased that one a little bit, just to be more on par with where we were at this year. And then electric and natural gas have they've been pretty consistent. And then our other professional and technical services, we're a little bit over and above, but I'm gonna keep us at, I'm at garbage and trash removal first. I'm keeping us at 150. We went into that rollover year. We are a little bit above right now, and this very last invoice I just paid, was just slightly above. It was a little over 15 grand instead of 14. So I'm gonna have to look into the invoice itself. I just got the actual invoice today. They do an automatic withdrawal. So we'll see what maybe did that. Did we have more trash because of the holiday? I don't know, because of Thanksgiving, who knows? But I don't foresee their costs going up because we are in our rollover year, so. Telephone, we've got several AT&T bills for our various, fax lines mainly, and then some of the things on police side. So that is, and then within that is also, we pay Connexo, which is another subsidiary of our IT company, and they do our main telephone lines. And then other communications, I gotta look what's in there. That might actually even be our TCC, but I left that right where it was. All right. So life insurance again is what it is, workers' comp, uniforms and clothing. Service gets $250 boot allowance each year, so that's gonna stay pretty much where it is, and the overage in that is actually coming out of the Cintas line. Cintas comes and picks their uniforms up to launder, and so from time to time they will charge us a little extra saying they didn't get a shirt back, but really they did, so that's a little overage there too. And then we didn't put anything in this other pro technical services line, but I left it at 2,500 just in case. I'll have to see what's been in there in the past. Okay, so back down to their other operating supplies and materials. They've got specific line items based on whether things are going into like George's department in the mechanics area or the service garage itself versus general service to the entire village. So that's why we've got some separate operating supply and material line items for the 1,000 account versus the 2011 account. Repairs and maintenance of buildings and land, we've been pretty steady with having this at 75 each year. In 19 we did go over a bit. This year we're a little bit under, but I'd like to not touch that line just in case, because, and if anything, I did not put anything, it'll go into capital if we were to do a roof, but I mentioned about the roof last time, and I didn't even put that in here yet either, so this is just general. Anytime we've got if we need a new garage door, if we need, whether it's on the service garage, or if we need a new door at the event center, new doors here, things like that, bigger type things. Machinery and equipment, I left at 2,000. Repairs of machinery and equipment, for that particular line, that would be equipment that mainly is being used at the service garage versus the other one that's going to be equipment for like repairing the leafers and repairing SCAG and things like that. So. And then we've got sanitary sewer, there's 10,000 in the budget, and Rob asked that we leave that in there because, as I was mentioning last week, and Ray, you kind of asked a question, I think, but then we didn't finish addressing it. We can't divert our sewer money that comes in on property taxes can't be diverted for us to repair our sanitary sewers ourselves. So this is for when Rob and the crew need to go out and do sanitary sewer repairs. So we'll leave it at 10 for him just in case. All right.
I thought you got it at 5.
Oh, sorry, I did take it down to 5. I may need to put it back to 10. Let me ask him. He did ask that I leave the line item there, and I'll double check with him what he needed. All right. Okay, everything under the mayor kind of basically stays roughly the same. Dues and fees, again, just organizations. There's nothing big that the mayor's spending money on. So council, same thing. I left salaries out because again, if we make any kind of COLA adjustments, it'll cover everybody potentially, and so if that's going to be the case, we'll need to tackle those numbers later. Left the legal salary the same because that's, I believe, something that's not going to be affected by that, and everything that goes with it. Hospitalization in this particular line, I'm trying to think besides Nancy who's in on this line. That probably is just Nancy's. I think I mentioned it's, it's like 24,000 person to do that. So yeah, so that's probably just for Nancy, because obviously John Montello and Marie don't take health
And
insurance.
Blair,
They don't take it, or James, none of them take health insurance. All right, so then we've got in that line item as well, some professional and technical services. This would just be if there's anything that needs to come out of, the mayor's court department itself. Dues and fees, Nancy's also part of the Mayor's Court Clerks Association, things like that. Office supplies for community diversion, I knocked it down to 1,500. They haven't spent too much this year in there, and I don't think they will. I'm trying to think in 19 what they even spent on. I can ask Tom Cope about that too. And then
That
that's,
was a, I think a computer.
it might have been a computer, it might have been. All right, so boards and commissions, again, kind of left everything where it was for them, didn't really touch too much there. Auditor of state fees, we won't have an audit itself next year, so that's why where you see the 15,211 right now that we've paid out, and we still have a little bit more to pay out. I kind of left that one blank because we're not due for an audit till 2021. We have 4,500 in for our accounting software fees. They were more money, and for some reason this year they were much cheaper. They were like $978 a quarter. I will leave that until I find out for sure what it's going to be. I can ask them, and if it comes down, then great. But I'm not sure why it came down so much this year, to be quite honest. All right, so then law solicitor, I left the same. That's all in there. Other professional technical services under here is going to be, if we need to pay Bricker for anything. So I left it at 25. We may need to up it a little bit depending on if we're, what litigation is going on. So we can probably have that conversation with John and see if I need to
I
up
should
it.
probably say, okay.
Any questions before we move on to the next page?
Yes, yeah, I don't know if I missed it or you didn't highlight, Ohio Public Employees Retirement System, going back up to the top of page, 1,722.11, count code. And,
722, is that what you said?
yeah, 720.
Oh,
211.
211, gotcha.
211.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm curious if, with looking at the 3-year trend of the actuals, 9,028.
well, let me see, this is,
13,000 plus for 2019 and 15,000 so far for 2020. Why are we budgeting 7,900?
well, I'm trying to think about how we've paid, we are at actual for 2020 right now more. Yeah, I will have to adjust that. I must have just looked over at her budget, or there's something in there that I didn't catch because when I first did these, I didn't have November's numbers in there. I'll take a look at that again. That's gonna be Nancy's, and Marty's. Nancy, Janice, Blair, and Marty are all paid out of payroll, so I do believe they're all paying into OPER, so I'll take a look at that. And I'll adjust that if needed. Yeah, I'm not sure where we budgeted where it was last year either, so thank you. I'll take a look at that. All right, next page. Tax refunds, I left at 60. I'm hoping to not be at 90 this year. We had, we've got a couple executives that we get their withholding tax for them, and then they're actually traveling more time than not, so they end up getting some pretty hefty refunds from us once they turn in everything to show that they were only in our city for a short time. And then I'm trying to think if there was any other leftover stuff from 16, 17 years that I did this year that brought us up to 90. I know last year I got a couple things I was cleaning up.
I had a
so-
question on that.
Yeah.
When you refund them, do you contact their home city to see that they paid them?
It's not so much about their home city, they're traveling, so they're paying a bunch of different cities. They're on the road, and we have like cost enterprises, they pay monthly, but their one main person, he's a truck driver, he's gone most of the time. So it's not a matter of me just contacting a home city, so that's on them. I obviously can't contact every city they've hit in. All they do is they give me the breakdown to say, here's how many days I was actually in this city and at the office or the location. So yeah, beyond that, if they're traveling, that's on them to reconcile out. I'd say it would be a lot of detail for them to give me, especially Smith and Obie, I think they out of the country too,
Yeah.
not just here. Yeah.
Well, for truck drivers, that, it is a lot of work, but when you just have somebody that says they're doing this, you know, because,
They're usually, well, the truck drivers specifically, and then there's usually top executives that I know are probably on the road doing other stuff, you know, they're just not here because they're in other places doing their research and their due diligence and all of that, so. I mean, I can check with their home cities, but I don't know that, you know, that their home city's gonna also have a skew depending on, you know, where they've been, so.
well, I found that when I notified the home city, I'm not talking about truck drivers, but just someone that's not in your community, they weren't paying their home community. So what happened then, they stopped asking for a refund from me, because it was just paperwork, because they had to pay the money there, so.
Okay, so Brian, Gloria was asking about, you know, in the instance of, let's say I have an executive from one of our larger companies, and he's asking for his refund based on his travel time and time worked here. She said in the past she's contacted their home city to see if they were paying enough into their home city as well, and they would maybe stop asking for refunds, because of the paperwork. So, I mean, I can check, but a lot of that, like I said, I don't, you know, I'd have to see what their home cities, you know, they could be giving
You
a free credit
probably
too,
don't
so
have
who
that
knows?
many, but, you know.
Yeah, it's just a couple of people, but it's a big enough amount because they're big enough executives here that, yeah. I think we're done with most of my cleanup though on the old stuff, so hopefully I'm gonna keep that at 60.
Angela?
Yes,
I know, like for me, for my job, like right now, I'm technically based in Dallas, and I was based in New York. I'm based in New York, at the time that I'm flying the line, but I pay 100% of my local taxes to Walton Hills. That's just the way it works out. I don't know, like for truck drivers or anything like that, I don't know why they would pay to any other municipality, because they're basically like me.
and they may not, even if they're crossing state
Yeah.
lines, they may not, that's what I'm saying, but I get a record from their employer signed off on to say, here's the time they were actually here working in Walton Hills, just as if we got contractors here for 21 plus days, do you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not somebody who lives in Walton.
No, these are not people who live in Walton Hills. Mm-mm.
Right, okay.
Right, they're not. Another piece of what drives that up a little bit this year too is the municipal to net profit tax system that the state of Ohio enforced, because anyone who opted in with them, if they had a large credit sitting with us, we needed to refund that credit so that they can kind of like start fresh with the state of Ohio. So, you know, so that played a little bit of a part too, so hopefully that's all hammered out or eventually all going away, but, yeah, so that's been a little bit of a nightmare, but I'm gonna leave that at 60 in hopes that I don't have any crazy
Go ahead, Rick.
leftovers.
Yes, I have two questions on that
Yeah.
one. Again, on the leaving it at 60, considering what the 3-year trend has been on the actual.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, when Vic left, I had a few messes to clean up because there were a few leftover items for people that had been tabled. He was working with them supposedly, they were due big refunds, you know, like our house was one thing. When they left, they were due all this money because they had paid us in anticipation and then they closed and they didn't really owe us that. So that's why I'm able to go lower, because I know I've kind of cleaned out most of that stuff.
All right, so the second part of my question is do we have any knowledge whether, just say for 2020, if any of this is related to people working from home?
No, not at all. None of this is related to working from home. So these would be 2019 returns, which would be irrelevant of anything going on in 2020 right now. They could even be prior returns from 18. There's still, and I spoke to this before, right now, we are still at the home rule. So the home rule still stands that if they're employed in Walton Village and their main company is in Walton Village, those withholding taxes are still coming to us right now. There have been no changes with that. So anybody working from home in other, you know, down the road, if anything is upheld, in Franklin County, there was a suit, because obviously the home cities do want to try to take money back. Then I'll keep you abreast of that, because we're following it closely as the tax association, because obviously, I don't know that they could make it retroactive, you know, once we hit this pandemic and things had timelines within it, I don't know if they could go back and ask for anything back now. Most of I've talked to some of our CEOs at our companies here, and they said, my employees, if they were home, it was very brief, and, you know, they're back, they need to be back, so we've got people that are doing hands-on work that If anything, I've gotten calls from other locations where people have started to work remote and now want to pay us tax, and that's just on them. I'm not gonna say, no, I don't want your money. You know, but they can figure that out later if for some reason, you know, but a lot of that too is software, you know, let's say I work for Microsoft, it's something I can always do from home,
Right.
regardless of whether there's a pandemic or not. So then they're gonna start setting up shop and giving us money regardless. So yeah, so none of this has anything to do with pandemic for sure. And I don't anticipate that it will. You know, what we're gonna see next year, if anything, is probably a hit to the individual taxes because people were working and they're just not gonna vote as much. Probably less of a refund issue here and more so, you know. All right, so finance, hospitalization, that number actually came down a little bit when we budgeted originally. I don't know why we budgeted so high. We only have, in the administrative department, there's only 3 employees on the hospitalization. So I'm just going kind of based off of that. And then, same thing, life insurance, all of that, meals and lodging, we've got our postage. That comes out, that's our regular postage. So what we use on the postage meters to rent the machine each month, to fill it, you know, fill postage each month, that's what that line item is, just like it sounds. We've got the separate rental and the separate postage itself. Postage mostly, you know, takes a hit when I'm sending out quarterly estimate payments. So printing and production, if we need to have, you know, anything that we send out professionally, let's say we're gonna do National Day of Prayer or something for Veterans Day, if we use, you know, professional printing. And then also, that line item right now, when you're looking at the actual, it's not what the journal's coming out of. The journal's coming out of pro services. So this would be if we needed to go pay for a graphic or do anything special. And then election expense, we had a budget for it this year, but I didn't have anything come through here. But next year I know we have council elections coming, so I left 5,000 in there. I don't know, typically, it doesn't seem that we usually have to pay anything, but I guess I can't promise that, right? So I'm gonna leave some money in there. I only have to look back even farther than before 18 and see when we've ever paid election expenses. Training, moving in there, obviously, OML conference for myself personally was virtual this year, so that was only $150, but if we're back to normal, obviously, that happens in Columbus usually, and there may be, you know, if there's any kind of training that Mary or Lisa would need to go to, you know, it's, then that money's there. Our professional and technical services encompasses a wide variety of things, so, in the past, we had coverall for cleaning. Now we've got Jan Pro, that's in there. We've got also in there our, if we use Tom Cochran to do any kind of telecom or wiring type of stuff. Sugar and Valley Engineering is in there, Safe Build, so that's what's in that line item. So I'm just leaving right at 150. Insurance and bonding, obviously I increased that based on us knowing that our insurance went up to 64, and I have to look back at what she sent me, the final figures on our cybersecurity, but I think that was just under 5,000.
Right.
And then on my bonding, I forgot how much that will end up being, so I put that at 75. And so what we do with the insurance, just so you're aware, we've talked about it before, I think, is I pay half the invoice now, and I pay half the invoice in the beginning of the year. So then the same thing at the end of the next year when we renew, it would be half of that invoice and half of the other. So in case that does go up again a little bit, we've got that cushion there. Yes?
So two categories that always kind of the mystery to me. One is just the miscellaneous where it pops up. But professional and technical services, can be used as a catch-all for a lot of different things. Specifically, my question is for Tiger Valley engineering services. Why are they not? Why are they not part of the engineering budget?
The engineering budget is for a salary specific for Don Shaky.
Okay.
The services that the rest of the office over there would perform, like Joe and any of their admin staff, that's what falls under professional services.
But engineering has a professional.
Engineering has.
And technical services.
Yeah, it could. I mean, we could move it. I'm just leaving everything where it's been, but we could move it.
Clarity's sake, I mean, I think it was in the closer to where it's actually been expended from.
Yeah.
It just
We can move it, yeah. And I can look and see if there would be a different place to go safe bill too, because that's building related, but, yeah. All right, so cast insurance and bonding, dues and fees. Dues and fees, same thing, just for all of our various organizations that any of us would be part of, the mayor, myself, Nancy, Mary, any one of us. And then we also have dues and fees like we pay Ohio Municipal League to do grant finding for us. We pay the Chamber of Commerce, you know, so some of those are just a little bit bigger ticket than a $95 yearly membership to something, because it's a service they're providing us. And then we've got our own machinery, equipment, and furniture line, which we've spent nothing out of this year, so I knocked that down. A lot of times when those repairs are being done, I can't even think of anything here unless we would buy some office furniture or something, but, you know, if there's equipment, that's usually service related. So contractual services here, the 15.6 is, I'm trying to remember for you who exactly that, I'm thinking for a minute.
Is that our
Could be.
live streaming?
No, that's not our live streaming, but that could be Tom
That-
Jordan there. I'm trying to think of who's in that one, I'm sorry, I'll come back to it when it comes to me. Carrie, you were gonna say something?
No.
No.
Well, we'll put a question mark there. See.
Yeah.
I think that is
I think-
Mr. Jordan.
I think that's Tom Jordan,
Yeah.
to be quite honest. As a matter of fact, I'll do some math and tell you in 10 seconds if it's Tom. Let's see. Tom's actually a little more than that, so I'll find out. Can't remember off the top of my head what's in that particular line item. All right, so your office supplies and materials, that's anything we need here, specifically office supplies, operating supplies. If we have bigger ticket items that we're getting, you know, if I'm getting a calendar or something, that's under office supplies. If we need, I think most of what's been in here right now has been PPE, so it's been probably sanitizer and masks and things like that, which obviously, hopefully next year, we're not gonna be spending as much of it. We did offset it with CARES Act money. I just left everything in its original line items. And then payment to the county treasurer, that's just something that's every year. And that's it for that. So I don't have transfers in yet, so we can, if nobody has questions, we'll move down to the SCMR fund. And basically skipping down to like Rob's pro and technical services down there. So again, they split out based on what is specifically to the service garage in the 1,000 line, and then what's to the rest of the world here in the 2011. So in their professional and technical services line, we could have, Jam Pro actually could be in this one, technically. We could have, I'm trying to think of who else comes in. You know, if we need to have signal service do anything, so, you know, I can, and at any time I can go through the ledger and like say, hey, this year this is what fell in here, so you can always ask specifics of like, you know, what did we pay out of this? Dues and fees there for streets, and then, their operating supplies, that's gonna be, you know, when they need gloves, when they need, you know, nuts and bolts, when they need, you know, various things that they're gonna go get to perform their duties as a service department. Fuel is what it is, and we didn't spend as much this year, but, I think I'm gonna leave that at 25, just in case, again, with them, you never know, fuel costs could go up too. For maintenance of buildings and land, so sometimes things fall under Rob's category, even if it's down at Alexander at the rec, and sometimes it doesn't, so I'm gonna leave that at 10. Again, Rob's been very conscientious of what's been spent this year. In the past, you can see we've been a little closer to 10, so I'm gonna try to leave that. And then same thing with machinery and equipment. If something goes wrong with the SCAG or the leafer or anything that they're using, you know, that's part of their, you know, their trailers and their vehicles, and that's usually what's coming out of there. So we can leave that at 20 again. And then repair and maintenance of motor vehicles for them. I could probably cut that in half. They've spent about 15,000. George can fabricate anything and do anything to any vehicle pretty much, so Right, so we've been rigging up dump truck beds and all kinds of things in here, so, I can bring that down a little bit. I think I left it originally just thinking that, just in case next year something goes wrong with some of the older vehicles again, or the dump truck again, one of the two dumps. And then our salt, I put in at 125, because like I said, we had a stockpile right now, and then Rob was able to stay at one particular price for next year, so we shouldn't need the full 150, even if we do have to go buy into our contract next year and start stockpiling again after this winter. Any questions there? Now you'll see another salt line.
Yeah, that was gonna be the next.
This other salt line, I do believe, is because some of this comes from state highway money. And so that might be why we have an extra 15 carryover for salt there. Obviously, coal patch is gonna come out of this other line as well, that's unique. But yeah, I think that the other 15, I think, is there as a cushion from state highway money. I will verify that. Which basically, if that's the case, would be used to just offset what we spent the other line item at the end of the year. But yeah, we won't even need to. Yeah, Brian?
Pardon the interruption.
No.
For repairs and maintenance of motor vehicles, you mentioned taking down by half. And I'm thinking about that.
Maybe, I said, maybe.
Yeah, I would respectfully suggest that if we do take that down, not by as much as half, because it's one of these things where our vehicles are getting older, and I know George does a fantastic job with them, and can do, like you said, fabricate a lot of stuff, but I would rather leave the majority of that in there, and based on the age of the vehicles and the wear and tear on them, as opposed to being surprised in June that we gotta now add $10,000 to it.
Right.
That would be my thought on it.
Okay.
I don't know how anybody else feels.
I think everybody would probably agree with that,
It's a smart way to go.
especially if we don't move forward with either, with the dump truck. A dump truck at, the 160,000, so that definitely, okay. I think council's all in agreement with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, any questions before we move on to law enforcement trust?
The only thing, Angela, I know there's a couple, as far as what Rob presented to us,
Right, I don't have the roof on here.
you don't, yeah,
But that was
I don't know,
that was-
thing. And the only other thing that isn't in there, I know I talked to you and Rob where we would put it, some type of buffer for the event center, whether we would put
Well,
that in.
when we go through buildings
Natalie's
and
budget.
land, that could be, that can come out of her Natalie's or Rob's. We can put that buffer in there, or repair and maintenance of buildings and land. That's
Okay.
where we would put in
I
for
think
the
that's
foliage.
just one more cap, okay.
Yeah, so I'll go back and look at both and see what, where to stick that. I don't really know the rhyme or reason for when anybody used Natalie's line item versus Rob's, but, okay, so, all of our buildings.
Or put it relating to the event
Yeah.
center. Because that's the reason we would be doing it, because of the event center itself.
All right, so law enforcement trust professional services, I left at 5,000. That's kind of on its own there. Police pensions, again, just anticipating, a little bit more maybe from property taxes, just depending, but kind of left it the same. And then the property tax collection fees, I dropped it just because we haven't had as much in fees this year. It doesn't mean we won't still have the fees next year. But, when we do get our distributions, there are some fees taken out for a couple different things. And so I can't take it away completely, but I can hope that it's going to kind of stay where it was this year. Utility distribution systems, under water meter repair fund. I left that the same. I put it at 11.8. I should say I added 500, but that's because we're just under 11.8 now. That's going to be kind of almost like a fixed cost there. And then Mayor's Court Computer Fund on the expense side, same thing. I left it at 3,000. Because if she needs repairs done to her laptop, which I can't remember if that was this year or the end of last year, but she did need to get a new laptop. You know, could be anything, you know, and that's specific to the mayor's court computer that is mobile. It's you know, she's got her own in her office, and then she's got that one that she uses when she's doing court up at the window. So I'm just leaving that in there just in case anything goes wrong with that. Now, when we come down to special bond retirement, I did not put Dunham in here yet. We know that right now we have our new note for the renewal at, you know, $1,295,000. So we're gonna retire that same amount, and then what will vary in there is how much are we gonna pay down on each piece, you know. You know, like I said, I think I'm gonna try to pay $150. If we can pay more, then great. But that's what I think I'm gonna budget for there. And the other couple line items are basically, you know, specific into the water main repair, but then obviously interest. When we pay back the note to Huntington each year, there's interest obviously that we do owe on it. And then interest, yeah, there might be some information for OPWC loans as well. Any questions on that? We're in the home stretch. Okay, so on the next page, streets, highways, sidewalks, and curbs. And I am trying to remember why I put 108 in here, because it's a pretty specific number. I know. I don't know what the 108,000 I put in here, because this one happened when I do this a few weeks ahead of time. I'm sorry. I know I visit myself what I was thinking. There's a reason that's a specific number, but I'll go back and look and let you know. And then I put Dunham obviously in the next line. So that would be our anticipated expense based on the bid, but that could go, you know, up or down a little bit. So I'm gonna go with what's on the bid, and we know that could adjust there. And then on our last page, we've just got deposits applied for senior services, which we don't really budget for. That's when they're paying for their snowplow and their lawn care contracts, and then obviously that comes, there's the revenue side to it, and this is our expense side to it. We don't really make any money on it. And then the JED. Like I said, I was going conservative again, so I'm gonna go $750 on the JED for what we're gonna pay out as well as what we're gonna bring in, because we pay ourselves, we pay Sagamore, it's typically a wash in the end. And I do have to talk to the auditor again about the current 52, because at the end of last year, I think I mentioned a while back, I had created one extra payment side to us when I was gonna transfer money to us, and neither Katie nor I caught it. And so I adjusted that off in the beginning of the year to one of our payments, but it's still sitting on my reconciling sheet, and so I think on the auditor side, they were gonna make an adjustment to the actual financials from last year, but I think I still have to go in and adjust something else, because normally you will see everything go in and out in the JED accounts, you know, by quarter. Once I pay it, it comes out, and then here's what's remaining to be paid for the next quarter. Where right now, that looks a little different, because there's an extra 100,000 sitting in there, so. So that's just a little precursory of all the main general accounts that we utilize most. And then, I mean, hopefully we can have some more CBA discussion, and we can certainly, if we need to pass temporary appropriation, we can. But I'm gonna try to, like the rest of this week, this is what I'll be working on, so that if we can come up with some ideas and have a better idea of salary, then I can put everything together so that we can pass at least temporary next week or something. But I'll make sure you see that ahead of time, obviously. And then we can.
Yeah, with that said.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do your car stuff because.
Yeah, do we want to hash any of that out? Are those going to take place, do you think? Or we want to wait till we see the total cost of what our salaries are going to be, and what the CBA contracts going to be? I mean, I think the radios are something we need to move forward with. I did talk to the chief about the cars, and he's really pushing for at least one. And that would be we able to use some of that, or we would use that $20,000?
Yeah, there's the
So
20 and there's the 16 that they brought in for, you know, police services, so we should be able to probably do at least one. That's my hope. You know, and then as far as service, that's gonna be something we might have to sit on for a little while, unless we decide to finance. Right now, we have no capital leases on anything, so if the dumps are in that bad condition, then it comes down to it, we can always probably try to do a capital lease.
Well, how does everybody, I mean, I'm just trying to make it a little easier, but I guess it really doesn't matter, because you can just.
Well,
make your own.
I can, I mean, I could, we
You
can put
know.
them in there, and if it's.
And then get our total and go from there.
Yeah,
You
I know, it's
after
hard to
we
do
get the
everything without the
contract.
salary information, even for me, it's hard to, you know, it's kind of like, okay.
Just so you know, it's, because it's not just, the big thing is, in that is the benefits. You know, the benefit part of that is some dollars amount, so it's.
Well, and as Brian did ask, you know, determining where we go from there. Are the rest of the employees also getting increases, and if so, how much? And so, you know,
Right.
kind of like the ducks all have to line up so that we can complete the whole salary picture for everybody in every department.
I had a question, if we can go back to the capital improvement. I know, you know, the vehicles are one thing, but last week you guys, we talked about the roof for this building.
Yes, I don't have the roof on here yet, so, again, I drafted this a little.
He's got an
bit.
estimated cost of $100,000.
Right, if we do the same type of roof we have
Yeah,
now,
built up
which
roof.
gives a 20-year life, it'll be just about 100,000. Yeah,
That would be on this page.
Yes,
What page are you on?
I'll put it in the capital projects.
7, capital improvement
Absolutely.
fund.
It will go in there,
And then I have another question.
like building and structures and things, it'll go in one of those lines.
Okay, so my other question is my favorite question of the night, that other professional services. That's a large number, what all goes in there?
I will give you a breakdown, I'll print a ledger for you of everything that we have in there, because like I said, mostly I open a purchase order in the beginning of the year. If I know we're paying JanPro every month for service, I'm opening a purchase order in the beginning of the year, so we know flat out, you know, here's our cleaning service for the year, instead of just doing it monthly, right? Because then here we are thinking we have some money that really is tied up, because it's a contract. So anything we have contract services for, Kimball, you know, those are open, Sugar Valley, those are open in the beginning of the year, same thing with Safe Built. And, you know, I encumber them all right away in the beginning of the year. It doesn't always have to be that way, you know, if we're in a position where we need to encumber only 3 months at a time, I can do that, when, you know, when it comes time to do the POs again for next year. But those are the things mainly that will fall into that category, and that's why it's such a
Even under
big ticket
capital?
item.
Even in the capital improvement fund?
In the capital, let me see what's in there. That capital improvement fund's probably, that pro services is probably for Bricker and Eckler and Stifle when we do our bonds. And let me see how much is in there.
You mean at the 167?
Yes. So those are pretty large numbers, and.
Page 7,
Yeah.
4901,800,
Oh, okay.
420.
Yeah, so it would be nice to know what all is, in those account, in that account.
420 is advertising. What do you look at?
4901,
Uh-huh,
800,
yeah.
420,04, oh, no.
That's
Three-
advertising.
No, no.
Oh.
349.
349, right above.
There, okay. All right, yeah. I'll
The
let you know
167.
exactly what's in that. Okay, I'll look up and let you know what's in that one.
Angela,
Yes.
have you found out, or has Tom had a chance yet, Tom Jordan, to find out if there's any types of grants for roofs for us? Is
You
that
know
all
what, I
grants?
honestly did not ask, and I apologize, we were getting jet stuff ready and I forgot, so I'm gonna kind of.
There-
Yeah, we're
I'll
meeting
see
with
him
him tomorrow,
tomorrow.
we can
I'll
talk.
ask him.
Yeah,
Because I wanted to meet with Rob again too and kind of narrow down, talk about this roof and this truck a little more too.
Well, Tom had
Yeah.
mentioned before, and we talked about, but I think it may have fallen to the wayside, about grants that are available for heating and cooling specifically for our buildings, this building, and as much trouble as we've had.
Yes. We did, something else will be down the road. Rob and I didn't discuss that, but I know from how many times we had to call Smith and Obie out this year that, especially when it's starting to get.
Well, I remember we did a survey here a few years ago through Gardner, and at that time, there weren't any grants. There was some cost-sharing programs, you know, but there's a pretty large
Well,
capital
Tom had talked
you
about
had to put
it.
out first. Yeah,
Tom
we-
talked about it at the time that,
We
the
went to
three of
the
us.
economic development,
Right.
like seminar or
Right.
whatever. Right, Norm?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, let me narrow, we'll meet with Tom tomorrow and ask, get that.
I remember that we got the proposal from Gardner Service about the windows and the roof and all of that. And it was really quite costly, but then they give you a breakdown of how you start saving, you know, over the years.
Right.
Payback.
They do that, they specialize in that, and they do that in a lot of schools. And you can see the cost savings, but you do have to pump the
It
money.
was the
initially.
capital that was
Yeah,
the-
it's a capital expenditure for sure.
What stopped us. It was, yeah, you get a payback after so many years, but you gotta still afford
But,
it.
yeah,
The capital, which I think that,
$400,000.
yeah, the smallest package was,
It was huge.
did you wanna touch
Oh,
base
yeah, can
on
we
the,
go over
infrastructure?
Yeah, so Joe and I had a phone conversation. So what you have in front of you, I don't have, other than Dunham, I don't have any of this in the budget currently. And the reason being that a lot of this is pending what we get in grants and such. So we did a little 5-year forecasting of projects that could potentially be done.
This is the secondary roads.
Exactly, well, some of it's county roads too, but yeah,
Yeah,
so
there is
secondary
some.
roads. And so basically, when you look at 2021, there is, crack sealing, and obviously where we've got our asphalt and our concrete repairs, that's going to be grant oriented. And then again, Hannon and Crick, you know, that's very specific each year with that community development block grant. If we would not get it for some reason, then we would hold off on those repairs. But crack sealing, you know, it's gonna be a $12,000 cost to us. I mean, as you see, I think I had almost 12,000 in, to unique paving. So, well, you won't see it specifically to them, but so we have paid almost that much this year in some crack sealing anyway. And then pavement markings. So I put some notes on here so you have them when you go. Pavement markings haven't been done since about 2014, Joe said. We typically did a 3-year process for those, where the first year we would do all of the markings, and then in the next 2 years, go back and retouch where needed, and then start over again. And so that's something that we should probably look at doing sooner rather than later. So he's estimating that would be a $50,000 cost to start out if we do it in 2021, if we are able, that's 50,000 are out of our pocket. And then the next 2 years, it would be 25 and 25 until we got back to I should say 25 and 22, and then he's got 50 again in 23. So I don't know if he plans on starting over quicker. But every other year it goes down by half when we're just retouching. Again, it's not priority, but if we could. He does have on here for this upcoming year, crack sealing and spot repairs for Egbert, for Sagamore, and for Dunham, which you see there in the county column. Those are anticipated grants. So he'll give you the cost, the grants we anticipate, and what it would be out of our pocket to go ahead and do those projects. He started on here with Fern Logan to be potentially one of the first side street areas we would hit, but, and that's, we would get, 21,000 from sewer district. If we can't hit that, this year, this asphalt resurfacing for Fern and Logan, obviously because it's gonna probably have water main in it, we actually got the money first for the horseshoe for Hickory, Tulip, and Chestnut. So if you look for 2022, if we need to put off doing Fern and Logan, we can, but by 2022, we need to do Hickory, Tulip, and Chestnut, because that water main has to be done that year. After that grant goes away and we lose our money. So obviously the paving comes along with doing the work to the water main. So we could potentially go one more year without doing any side road stuff, and then Fern and Logan would fall right behind them most likely, because their grant would come in after. So a lot of what he's got on here, okay, obviously done Tinker's Creek, that's something we're in the middle of. But anything he's got under these county maintenance ones, if we don't get a grant, he said, then we just don't do the work yet, we can put it aside. But we do have a high probability of getting some of the grant money for the county road maintenance section. And then, like I said, our asphalt and concrete, that's money that we already had the grant for this year, we're applying for it again. So if we are to get that that will continue on. Now, we've got Alexander Road Phase 2 from Dunham to Walton, and we anticipate receiving $250,000 from the county and $250 from OPWC, which would make our out-of-pocket zero on that. If for some reason we don't get OPWC money, he said we can shove it and start it the following year. Okay, we'll know in the spring if we've gotten that grant money or not. All right, and the same thing, you know, if we were, again, if we did not get the CDBG grant, we would not necessarily do those same concrete and asphalt
Right.
repairs in the industrial park. South Meadow Park culvert is something that we need to tackle, but we are still waiting on an easement to be granted because a property owner in that area would.
And that's part of the cost share.
Would
So that's
not.
no cost from us.
Yeah, exactly. And that one property owner would not grant an easement, and who has since passed away. So we have to see what her estate's gonna do, if we can get that easement. But that would be a no cost to the village project there. So obviously, if there's money we know we're already getting a grant for, then we can go ahead and budget accordingly and do those. But, yeah, pavement markings are a big thing, so, you know, that would be something to look for. And then this county road stuff, you know, we'd still end up going about half of. But it's just a look ahead for everybody. Joe said that really the conversation hasn't been had in the past about, you know, what we're looking like going forward. So I just figured it would help to have an idea of where we may start. And again, I'm gonna check to see when the note comes due for Dunham, if we need to be paying back all of it, or can I use some of it for some of the other projects. So stay tuned on that, I'll have an answer, but I thought I'd give this to you just so you guys can all see where we're at and see that we definitely are trying to get to side roads. And we do have to get to the horseshoe by next year. So it's coming along. I know it's been a long wait for side roads, so. And anybody can obviously talk to Joe if they have any questions as well, so.
This is a great way to plan. It gives you kind of your.
Yeah, Joe laid all these spreadsheets out. I just typed up the notes for you on what happened in our conversation. I can't take credit for his spreadsheets. That's his fantastic work. So I think it's very helpful to have it to plan. I'm not sure how we would have not done it in the past, so.
Well, he gave a different format. He would do the roads, this is
Right.
good.
But just one year at a time, or?
No, he would do a map of, a whole spreadsheet.
Well, he did also give me a sheet of the road conditions. for
Yes,
all the
Yes.
and
roads.
that's something we'll share with everybody too.
Oh,
So
yes.
you
I
can see where they fall, you know, how those roads are higher up on the list than others.
Yeah, remind me, it was part of his.
Basically,
We've done some
We have a lot of
others.
bad roads on the secondary roads, which is,
Yeah, yes.
some developments are bigger than others, and some streets are longer. Did anyone have, Brady, do you have something?
That comes from the roads come from our engineers or?
Yeah, and that's where that report came from, Joe
Yeah.
July,
This information's from Joe.
Chagrin Valley Engineering, that's where that came from.
Yeah, this is a great planning tool, and I would like to see the criteria that goes into which.
Yeah, he.
Yeah, I'm gonna
yeah.
send it separate. When he sent me, we were doing some updating over the phone, so I saved a separate version myself and I didn't save that tab, I apologize. I'll go back into his original and send that out to you guys, with the list of the roads and their conditions.
Very good.
Any other questions?
Angela,
Yeah.
like on 2021, the Dunn Integrity Road, the net cost of the village, $704,000.
We're budgeting high.
Take that out.
Well, yeah, we're budgeting a little higher, just because again, even though we have our bid, if there's any kind of little, unforeseens in there, that bid could go higher. And again, when you look at his county number of what's coming into us, that's also higher than it probably will end up being. So yeah.
My point is that we're bonding at $700,000.
Right, that's part of our 2.6. We bonded out the entire project.
Yeah, so the net cost to the village, yes, it's $940,000, but that $940,000 does not have to be paid in 2021, is what I'm getting at.
Correct. Well, we do short-term bonds, so some of it will have to be for sure. So just like we renew the other note, I should say.
Yeah.
Yes, so we do everything short-term so far around here, so that, right, it'll have to be, we'll pay down some of it and then potentially be able to renew it. That's what I need to get to the bottom of, right? Mhm.
Right, okay.
Well, yeah, Brian, because a lot of that comes out of there, like that's, you know, what else, some other things are included in there too that we get reimbursed for. So, that 940 isn't really,
So that night was just on the specific. It
right,
has nothing to do with the other one.
okay.
Oh, I should say, the whole, you mean at the bottom line, according to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying right there.
Right, exactly, that's our out-of-pocket cost, including reimbursements that we would potentially get, or ones that we know we already have.
Right. So
Any
that
other
number- that number
questions?
would be low.
No, that was,
Okay, back to you.
Yeah. So I know, you know, just to kind of, we all like to see a budget pass, you know, we've all been talking, Angela, we're gonna see how everybody feels. We might have to have a COW meeting before the next council meeting. We hate to really go past that, we'll have to talk about whether we want to,
At least
you know,
temporary. yeah.
temporary or regular, we want everybody to be comfortable, it's just gonna depend on where we're at with the contract too and stuff. So, we wanna get everything right, and I know this body
Angela wants to
do
go on
the same thing.
vacation with everything off her plate, and so she can come back and close the year.
So. Okay, anything else, for budget? Thank you, Angela, I think, very good. Anything else? Any discussion on budget before we move on? Items, go ahead, Ron.
Just, well, as Angela said, I know that she's working hard on it, and will be working hard, for next week, but next week's our our council meeting, for the end of the year. If she could, just have two things ready for us, I guess, if that, the rest of the council agrees with this, a 3-month, plan just to pass, just to have in our back pocket, for the council meeting, and try to get the rest of it done, barring, the employee, stuff all comes in.
Right, and I guess with that said, to answer that, it'd be pretty much what we just went over, correct, Angela? 'Cause none of those- it would be the budget we just went over.
And we could throw temporary salary numbers in as well, you know.
Right, yeah, we would throw those 3-month salary, that's the only thing you left out with the salary numbers or
And
no.
everything that goes with them, yeah.
And everything that goes with the no PRS and the medical but there's no capital in here, so that this would, I guess what I'm saying, we wouldn't have to revisit it, we kind of just really did a
We
temporary
go over
budget.
anything new.
Yeah, just with,
Right, exactly, yeah.
just with the added items, as, you know, we have to go through the things, just the items that would be added to salaries for the temporary budget, that
Yeah.
the other amounts. So that was kind of the whole purpose of to get through this whole thing.
Yeah, to go through the little finer details. and
So
the
we
big
know,
stuff we can-
we're all pretty comfortable with where we're at, it's the other, those other items and whether or not we want to move forward with some capital items.
Right. One other thing I do need to address, I apologize. One piece of legislation I'm gonna have next week, when you pass these appropriations each year, there are transfers that are gonna go from general fund into other funds and from the capital improvement to debt service. Well, when this one was passed in the end of last year for 2020, there is a $360,000 transfer in the budget for that, and we've done this in years past too. It goes from
Yes.
capital improvement to debt service. It was missed when you passed this, so I do, because of the audit, and you saw the last audit, we did a couple transfers a couple years ago that were not passed. I'm gonna have just for that piece only, to make sure that we can make, before I can make the end of the year transfers, that needs to be taken care of. So it was in the budget, it just wasn't on this appropriation sheet. And so that'll be drafted, and that'll be something that you'll see within the packet, just so I can be on the up and up with the auditors when it comes to that particular transfer.
okay.
And that's it for me. I'm done talking. You guys are on your own.
Well, you
Heard
did a
about me today.
You did a good job. So. Any other discussion to do with the budget? Okay, I have nothing for other business. Does anybody else have anything for other business? You know, I guess just to kind of just back up a little bit. I know, things are, we haven't heard too much lately to do with the Ford property or anything, but we're hoping that due diligence has taken place, and if we knew some of our future there, that might help, but we just don't, so just for the residents, we, council and the administration, we just have to be conservative. We just don't know our faith right now, we can go by what's real, and that's what's important. So, just with that said, so. All right, I have nothing for 7 for other business. If everybody, does anybody have anything for that? Then we can adjourn and we can go and, take a break or just go right into our special council meeting. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the COW meeting of December 8th, 2020.
Second.
Second by Gloria.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Okay, meeting adjourned at 9:08. We're going to go into our special council meeting. Okay, here we go. Everybody ready? Does anybody need to go? Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the special council meeting of the Village of Walton Hills, Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, at 9:08. This meeting is being live streamed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are following House Bill 404 that allows public bodies to meet electronically through July 2021. Okay, we got roll call.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Here.
Councilman Linville.
Present.
Councilwoman Allen.
Here.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Here.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Here.
Councilman Whedon.
Here.
All council present, one council member, Mr. Spitznagel, present electronically. Okay. Would like to go, yes, like to go through
Mr.
the,
Mayor, I would like to ask for approval of the special council meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2020.
Second.
second by Mr. Whedon.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Okay, minutes passed, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask for approval of special council meeting minutes of March 10th, 2020.
Second.
Second by Jennifer Allen.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Okay, minutes passed, thank you, everybody.
I'd like to ask for, I'm failing here.
It's getting late.
I would special approval of special council meeting minutes of May 12th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jennifer Allen.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Okay, minutes passed, thank you, everybody. Okay, we have one piece of legislation on for tonight, which is Resolution 2020-24, Community Development Block Grant. We have talked about that. That's passage of this allows us to apply for a block grant for $150,000 to be used in our industrial park area. Who would like to, Mr. Whedon?
Yeah, Mayor Colgraf and
Yes.
members of council, I'm introducing resolution number 2020-24, a resolution for suspension, a resolution authorizing the mayor and village engineer to make application for a community development block grant in the amount of $150,000 and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Okay,
Mayor,
thank you, everybody. Oh, go ahead.
no, Yeah, Mayor Colograph and members of council, asking for adoption of resolution number 2020-24, a resolution authorizing the mayor and village engineer to make application for a community development block grant in the amount of $150,000 and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Second by Jennifer.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Approval passed. Thank you, everybody. Can I have a motion for item number 5?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss member appointment to the zoning board of appeals.
Second.
Second by Gloria.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Just for anybody watching or the residents, when we do come back, we're just going to reconvene. The meeting will end. There won't be any discussion or any legislation passed at that time. So just want to let everybody know. Okay, we're gonna go in executive session right here. Sarah, just let me know when it's off. I'm also gonna let We're back from executive session at 9:42. Can I get a motion to reconvene from executive session?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to reconvene from executive session.
Second.
Second by Denny Linville.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen. Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Okay, we reconvene. All members in favor. Can we get a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the special council meeting of December 8th, 2020.
Second.
Second by Denny Linville.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Trulowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Okay, meeting adjourned at 9:43 p.m.
Stay safe, Brian. Fly safe.
Thank you, Brian.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks, Brian. Are we off, Sarah?
20 seconds.
Okay.
Jennifer, I think we made a good choice.
I think so.
The mayor made a good choice.
Yes.